Hi there. In this video, we're going to delve into the answer to the question, how does taking notes improve academic success? We're going to look at one of the standard aspects of life in school, and that's taking notes, and exactly what you can do to improve that and how that will help you in your overall academic success. First part of this video, we're going to look at how taking notes improves your memory and retention. Then we're going to look at the benefits of different types of note-taking systems and how those can impact you. Third, we're going to look at mindset, of course, and how your mindset will play into your ability to take notes well. Fourth, we're going to look at different strategies to improve your note-taking. And then we're going to look at some real-life examples of how this plays out in the educational realm. Note-taking has been done for eons because it helps with memory and retention. The process that you go through when you are reading and taking notes once you're reading, listening to a lecture, listening to a video, whatever that might be, the process of listening to that, reading the information, processing it, putting down succinctly your notes from that very process is making those neurological connections in your brain, building that highway so you can retain the information and you can recall it when you need to. That is the whole function, or one of the main functions of taking notes. Now, there's some different techniques that are used in note-taking that can help not only retain the information, but make sense of the information, which is the other major goal, right? So it's not just about retaining the information, you really want to kind of understand it. And two of the main techniques that you'll see taught in schools use the Cornell method of note-taking, which essentially Cornell method, you have the sheet of paper that has a very wide margin with regular lined section on it, where you're taking notes in that line section and that wide margin, you're annotating your notes. You're making comments and asking questions and creating headings and things like that for your note-taking. So you can find information easier, it helps you think about it, guide things, organize things in a little different way. That's that Cornell aspect. The other thing that's taught a lot now is mind mapping. And there's lots of different varieties, but it's essentially just creating some sort of graphic way of organizing your notes. The web might be the most common type, but there are a lot more than that. And a web would be, you'd have a central idea, and off that idea, there's different subtopics, and off the subtopics is more details, and you kind of drawing lines to show how that all connects together. But really, mind mapping is about any sort of graphic organization that helps represent the information in a slightly different way. And by doing it in a visual sort of imagery, it just helps your brain kind of make sense of all that information and maybe even make different connections. So taking those two ideas, I had actually developed my own note-taking system that I had my students use for years, where essentially you took a big piece of paper, 11 by 17 sheet, and you had it folded in a way that you had these regular line parts that you would take notes on. And you would take the notes from either something I was presenting information or something you were reading. And then you'd have that on a flap, and then you'd open up the other flap, and you had a whole blank section to then look at your notes. And right there in that blank section, all on the same sheet, you could do a graphic organizer, a web, whatever it is, based on those linear notes that you just took. And it worked the same way on the other half. You had a flap, and then you could open that up, and you had a blank part where you could do the graphic organizer. And when you turn the paper over, you had more space to do anything you wanted, annotations or more kind of visual organizing it. And all we was trying to do with that was take the linear note-taking, that's essentially Cornell note-taking with a mind mapping, and help the kids have it in one place that was more easily organized so they didn't lose all their notes and papers, which was, especially middle school, especially with kids who have executive function issues, was a challenge. And your mindset really plays into this in perseverance, willing to work, and take the extra step, right? The really good note takers will take notes and then they'll go over their notes a second time, reorganizing them, restructuring them, maybe do the mind map then. Those are extra steps that so many students, including myself, right? I struggled with that for probably throughout my college years, right? Is really trying to process the note-taking by doing them again, those extra steps, that's extra organizing step. That's where your mindset really comes into play, right? Is understanding the value of that, and that when you're really curious and you really desire to understand and enrich yourself, when you're really kind of seeking to become kind of a master of that information, when that is ingrained in you, you are more likely to go through those extra steps and really do a better job with note-taking. So a couple of strategies here that kids need to learn how to do, need that practice, is developing their own note-taking system, use of abbreviations, so that they can kind of keep up, right? Especially in terms of lectures or videos. Now, with videos, yes, you can stop and you can go back. That's very helpful. You could video a lecture, right? Potentially with your camera, or at least get the audio recording of it, and then go back. But the idea of note taking, whether you don't constantly want to have to stop either when you listen to something, and then pause it and write down. So when you can do a shorthand system to keep up with things, it really makes the whole process much more efficient. But you really need to learn how to do that. And one of my problems was I would take notes, use shorthand, use abbreviations, and 2 days later when I'm reviewing notes for some project or some paper I have to write or something like that, I'm looking at that and go, what did I write? What does that mean? I don't get it. So just abbreviating isn't enough. You've got to teach kids and help kids keep things short and simple, but still in a way where if they go back 2 days later, a day later, 3 days later, they can look at it and have a pretty darn good idea of what they wrote. Right? So that's a skill set, a strategy that needs to be taught and helped to develop. The other is learning how to get into that learning state so you can really kind of be better at pulling out the information as through the listening skills, right? Whether it's whatever the medium is that you're listening to, be able to get that and process that. And again, that is state related, and that's important to learn how to develop. One of the challenges that we have in this, the listening aspect of this, is everyday consciousness, as it's referred to, is typically your working memory, which you can hold a little bit of information for about 10 to 12 seconds, and your mind needs to kind of wander, process that, then come back. So what happens sometimes, particularly you see this with people with ADHD and all, that mind wanders a little bit longer and it starts going on all kinds of different tangencies. Well, this is partly natural, but your ability to come back and refocus, and when you become aware that, oh, my mind just wandered, where did I pick up? That ability to then focus back in and try to figure out what you might have missed, all of that is state related. Your ability to do that is state related. The ability to kind of get your focus on what you need to do and cut those distractions down to a minimum is state related. So being able to learn how to get into that learning state is really valuable. So how does this play out in the real world? I can talk about the success my students had learning note taking, and it wasn't something I invented or anything, but we took an existing program that was part of a writing program, and the way we had to structure things, and we worked so much with kids' mindset and habits and all that, but we taught them note taking. It was a organized part of what we did, which sadly really isn't part of a lot of classes. And it absolutely did help with understanding, with their writing ability, with retention, all of those things. Of course, the mindset work we did factored into that as well. We can also look at 2 real-life examples of highly successful people in Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, who talked about how much they took notes on in the meetings and other things they were doing, and would have to go back to their notes, and that would help them ask better questions, look at the information, process that information, maybe reframe it, think about it. But it's all centered around their ability to take notes, so they had a good record of the information that was talked about, and then be able to go back and review that. Once again, I invite you to subscribe to our channel, check out our other videos. You might especially be interested in the video, Does Academic Success Determine Success in Life? You check that video out today. Check out my podcast. We're adding more all the time. So I invite you to subscribe and check out all the videos that we have to offer.